Hello everyone, today we're taking a look at the mini PC that has a dedicated NVIDIA GPU, and we're also checking out a pretty cool monitor from Pixio. It turned out to be a pretty nice mini PC setup, so hit the like button and let's start. I came across this mini PC on Amazon and bought it for $319. It was delivered pretty quickly. Right off the bat I can see a pretty solid packaging. This PC is manufactured in China and sold by a company called Triku. I was not wrong about the packaging, it feels very Apple-like, which is pretty good considering the price. I see the manual, it is well written and covers a lot. In the accessories box we have HDMI cable, power adapter with the cord, and the mount bracket with screws in case you want to mount PC behind your monitor. And finally we have a mini PC itself. Again, the packaging quality is pleasantly surprising here. PC feels pretty solid, the case is made of high quality plastic with a glossy finish, and it also looks pretty stylish in white orange design. It has a cooling openings on the top and on the sides, and on the bottom it has a wide rubber legs for stability. The form factor is not the smallest, but I would say it is pretty portable. Also, I can't help but notice it's kind of similar to the Xbox One S design. Let's take a closer look at the ports. On the front it has a power button, indication, and 2 USB ports. And on the back we have a power port, Ethernet, a 6 USB ports, 2 of which are USB 3.0. Next we have 2 HDMI, Type-C and audio ports. So it has a pretty rich port configuration. By removing the top panel, which is magnetic, we have access to RAM and storage slots, which is very convenient. It comes with 16GB of RAM, it's installed by one stick so we have a single channel. But we also have an empty second slot so we can upgrade to 32GB of RAM in the future. Next we have 500GB M.2 drive pre-installed. They added a heatsink, which is nice to see. Underneath the storage it has a Wi-Fi 6 module, and we even have an extra M.2 slot for storage. Very impressive. I decided to take it apart a bit further. It is relatively easy, so you can see 2 cooling fan turbines, one for the CPU and another for the GPU. It looks like they are reusing old laptop components for these PCs, but I gotta say the quality is on very decent level here. The bottom side of the motherboard even has a SIM card slot, which makes this PC suitable for some projects. I would say it has a pretty good first impression. Let's power it up. For the monitor, I'll be using this Pixio PX248 Pro, which Pixio provided for this video. It is a 24-inch 165Hz 1080p gaming monitor. Comes in this red box. 165Hz is really nice. Even if you don't game, you will see a big difference in smoothness compared to regular 60Hz monitors. In the box we have a display cable, stand pieces, power supply, notice how compact it is. Next we have a manual and the monitor itself. It feels impressively lightweight. On the back it has a power port, 2 HDMI, 1 display, and an audio port. The monitor stand was easy to put together. It is adjustable, which is very nice, it gives you a lot more flexibility. Moving forward, it is an IPS monitor that has good viewing angles, and it even has built-in 2-watt speakers. I personally really like the monitor software. It is easy to use, has a lot of adjustments, and actually has some usable crosshair options. That's nice. So I think for under $150, which it is right now, it is a pretty great deal from Pixio. Back to our mini PC. I connected power port, HDMI cable, and it started with no problems. We have a Windows 11 Pro on the board. I went through the setup and Windows Update. So now let's check the specs. We have an Intel i5-11300H, which is a 35 watts laptop CPU. It has a 4 cores, 8 threads, 4.4 GHz max frequency, and 8 MB of smart cache. The CPU also has integrated Intel Iris graphics, which runs the system by default. This CPU is getting old, but it should keep up for a long time. Next we have 16GB of RAM, which works on 3200 MHz frequency out of the box. That's nice. 500GB SSD turned out to be a Gen 3. Here's the speed check, and Wi-Fi module, which gives us Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, works well. And finally we have the NVIDIA GeForce MX450 GPU. It is a laptop GPU from 2020 with 2GB of VRAM. It is a very entry-level GPU, but it makes a huge difference here. It supports relatively current technologies, allowing this PC to be pretty responsive in productivity tasks and even some gaming. It supports the latest driver. For some reason GeForce Experience was failing to update the driver, but I downloaded the driver manually and it went through. After using this PC for a bit, I can say the system feels very responsive, and the dedicated GPU is a big help in video editing and recording work. Let's now move to gaming performance. In 3D Mark, PC scored almost 2500 100 points. Both GPU and CPU temperature stayed under 65 degrees for most part, but at the end we have the CPU temperature hitting 80 degrees. Let's check how it performs in games. Starting with CS2, all settings on low, native 1080p, and I'm seeing over 100 FPS with a pretty stable frame time. Not a bad start at all. Let's move to more demanding game. In Apex Legends, on low settings I'm getting around 55 FPS in the sky, but on the ground I see around 90 FPS most of the time. Frame time graph is looking good, so the game runs very smoothly. Honestly impressive result. Fortnite, with a low performance mode, I see around 100 FPS all the time. The game runs well, and you can see the frame time is also nice. I tried running it with a DirectX 12 mode as well, but it's not really playable unless you play with the resolution scale. Moving to PUBG, with a very low settings, I see playable 60 to 80 FPS range, so we can even up the settings to low. In Warzone 3, I set the low settings with native 1080p, and in that case getting around 35 FPS most of the time. The frame time is not good, so you can't really get competitive, but at least the game runs. Same with the relatively new game, the finals, with the low settings and FSR in ultra performance mode, getting around 40 FPS most of the time. It is slightly better than Warzone, but still not enough for such fast gameplay. I think MX450 shows impressive performance, and you can actually play pretty demanding online games. Of course we should give credit to game optimization as well. Let's now run a couple of single player games. In Cyberpunk, with the low settings of course, and FSR in ultra performance mode, I see 47 average FPS with benchmark, but in the game it varies from location a lot. It is playable, you can get the overall point of the game, but it is far from a pleasant game experience. Very similar performance I see in Spider-Man Miles Morales and Elden Ring. Definitely not a pleasure to play these games with this performance, but despite that I want to say that it's pretty impressive for such a mini PC, and it can actually run some of the single player games as well. For example, in Days Gone I was surprised with a very playable around 60 FPS. It is a low setting though, but the game looks pretty good. You can see in this game GPU hits around 75 and CPU around 80 degrees. It's not the best, but we are still far from critical temperature. And to be fair, PC has a decent load. I can feel warm air coming out from the side, the top is intake here, but at the same time PC is pretty quiet, so the cooling is working better than I expected. So I think that's a pretty solid mini PC. I'm really impressed with the quality and design. Definitely would like to see more devices like this. I'll leave links to this mini PC and monitor from Pixio in the description. Also, I found a very similar mini PC from a company called Paladin. Looks like it's from the same manufacturer. We even saw some RAM and storage from Paladin in this mini PC. I don't see it available right now, but I'll leave a link in case it's up again. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have or had a great holidays. Happy New Year. I'm planning to make more videos in 2024, so make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next videos.